We are continuing on with solving systems using elimination, and today we're going to talk about when we need to multiply before we can eliminate one of our variables. So remember, when we're eliminating a variable, we want to look for additive inverses. Now in this case, we don't see any additive inverses, but I do have a term with a coefficient of 1 or -1. So if I multiply this term by 2, and all the way across my equation by 2, then I will get an additive inverse because this will become -2x and this will be 2x. So when we add them together, they will cancel out. So I'm going to multiply by 2 all the way across my first equation. Remember, I have to multiply each term by 2. So 2 times -x is -2x. 2 times -6y is -12y. And 2 times 2 is 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy down my second equation exactly how it is. And now that I have additive inverses, I can go ahead and add these together to eliminate my x term. -2x plus 2x is 0. -12y plus 4y is -8y. And 4 plus 4 is 8. Now from here, I can isolate my variable y by dividing each side by -8. My -8's cancel out, and I'm left with y equals -1. All right, and if you need to review adding your equations together to eliminate one of your variables, you can go ahead and watch the previous video, Solving Systems of Equations with Addition. So now we need to substitute our value for y back into one of our original equations. It doesn't matter which equation, so I'm going to pick the first one. Just going to copy it down. And now I can replace my value for y. So we have -x minus 6 times -1 equals 2. -6 times -1 is +6. Remember, negative times negative is a positive. And I just copy down everything else I already have. Now I want to isolate my x. So I need to subtract 6 from each side. My 6's cancel out. And I'm left with -x equals -4. Now remember, I want positive x on its own, so I'm going to divide each side by -1 to get x equals +4. So the solution to this system is for -1. All right. Next example. Okay, so again, I want to look for additive inverses. I don't have any additive inverses here, but I do see 2y coming up 2 times. It's coming up once in both of my equations. So in order to get an additive inverse, I can multiply one of my equations by -1. So I'm going to multiply the top one, and when I multiply my y term by -1, I'll get -2y. -2y plus 2y is 0, so it will eliminate my y term. So I'm going to multiply by -1 all the way across my top equation here. So -1 times 4x is -4x, -1 times 2y is -2y, and -1 times 2 is -2. And then I'm going to copy down my second equation as it is. So when I add these together, my y terms cancel out. -2x plus 2x is -2x. And -2 plus 2 is 0. Now we need to isolate x. So I divide -2 by each side. My negative 2's cancel out, and I'm left with x equals 0. All right, we need to substitute the value for x back into one of our original equations. I'm going to pick the first one. So I'm just copying down the first equation. And now I'm replacing x with the value 0. So this is 4 times x, or 0, plus 2y equals 2. 4 times 0 is 0. And actually, this 0, we can just pretend it's not even there. And to isolate y, I need to divide each side by 2. My 2's cancel out, and I'm left with y equals 1. So my solution is 0, 1. Okay, last example. Okay, so this one isn't as easy because we don't have any terms that are similar or any terms that have a coefficient of 1 or negative 1. So we're going to actually have to multiply a constant by both equations. So for example, if I want to eliminate my x terms, I can multiply my top equation by 3 and my bottom equation by negative 2. So my top x term will become 6x and my bottom x term will become negative 6x. So when I add them together, they'll cancel out. We have other options. We can multiply the top by negative 3 and the bottom by positive 2. If we wanted to eliminate our y term, we could multiply the top by negative 5 and the bottom by 4, or we could multiply the top by positive 5 and the bottom by negative 4. It's really up to us. It depends on what variable we want to eliminate. There's many different options. So let's start by multiplying 3 all the way across my top equation. So 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times 4y is 12y, and 3 times 0 is 0. And then we multiply by negative 2 all the way across the bottom. So we have negative 6x minus 10y equals negative 2. And now I can add my equations together and my x terms cancel out. 6x minus 6x is 0. 12y minus 10y is 2y. And 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. To isolate y, I need to divide both sides by 2. And I get y equals negative 1. Now that I have the value for y, I can replace and substitute this back into one of my original equations. We'll use the first one. So I'm just copying down my original equation. And we're plugging this value in for y. So this is 2x plus 4 times y, or negative 1, equals 0. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And I need to isolate my x term. So we need to add 4 to each side. My 4's cancel out, and I'm left with 2x equals 4. To isolate x, I need to divide each side by 2. And I'm left with x equals 2. So the solution is 2, negative 1.